All right, Shalom. I want to start off by giving all praise, honor, and glory due to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Rakakwadash. I'd like to give double honors unto the apostles and the elders of Great Millstone who I learned this truth from. And I'd like to say peace and salutations unto the hopefully elect. And, this is going to be a quick video, because news has just come out that, there's an elephant over there in India, that is, taking out 22 people, So I'm just going to go into this and bring out a couple of scriptures, Lord willing. This lesson is edifying and straight to the point. And it says, killer elephant leaves 22 people dead over 10 days in India, still at large. According to reports, a rogue elephant has killed 22 people in 10 days in India's Jharkhand state, with residents warned to stay indoors as officials struggle to stop it. Even specialist teams rushed in, failed to contain the animal, and one expert was killed. Wildlife officials say it's likely a young male in moose in aggressive hormonal phase, according to BBC News. And they can't really explain why these elephants, or why this particular animal is doing this, which we know why, because the Lord put the spirit on this particular animal to carry out these acts, so just getting straight to it. This is the book of Ecclesiasticus, also known as Sirach, chapter 39 and verse 28. It says, there be spirits that are created for vengeance, which in their fury lay on sore strokes. In the time of their destruction, they pour out their force and appease the wrath of him that made them. And right, man, this particular elephant, is a spirit of vengeance. The Lord put the spirit on this animal to take out those people, He said within 10 days, this elephant has taken out 22 people, Verse 29 says, fire and hail and famine and death, all these were created for vengeance. This is the main point. Teeth of wild beasts and scorpions and serpents and the sword, punishing the wicked to destruction. So it says teeth of wild beasts. And if we know elephants, they're herbivores, they're, plant eaters. The point is, that those particular men, because it didn't specify, if any women were killed, but, those men were taken out, by this animal. And that's also going to become a common occurrence. Even though it already is common, it's going to become more and more common for people to get attacked by wild animals, especially once the grid here in America goes down, because all of these zoos, most of them anyway, they're all electric. The enclosures that they keep these animals in are, electric. So a lot of these animals are going to get out and are going to, do the Lord's will, which is going to say in the next verse. It says, verse 31, they shall rejoice in his commandment, and they shall be ready upon earth when need is, and when their time has come, they shall not transgress his word. And right, man, that's exactly what this elephant did. The Lord chose this animal to carry out these acts, and it did so. It didn't transgress the Lord's words. It did exactly what it was commanded to do, which was to take those Elamites out, which, Elam is the so-called East Indians, and that's exactly what it did, man, for those people that don't understand. That animal was a spirit created for vengeance, man. It did exactly what it was commanded to do, right? Now we're going to get Jeremiah chapter 15. And even though, we know this is primarily talking about our people, it's still going to apply, to other nations as well. This is the book of Jeremiah, chapter 15, and verse 1. It says, Then said the Lord unto me, though Moses and Samuel stood before me, yet my mind could not be toward this people. Cast them out of my sight and let them go forth. Because again, Moses and Samuel, talking about the prophets, because our people, they're hard-headed, they don't want to take heed to the words that are being spoken, by the men of the Lord, right? And there's going to be their judgment, along with you other nations, there's going to be your judgment as well. It says, And it shall come to pass, if they say unto thee, Whither shall we go forth? Then thou shalt tell them, Thus saith the Lord, such as are for death.
All right, Salakia. I got interrupted by a phone call, so I cut the video. But, just to finish this video, just going to restart, where I left off. This is the book of Jeremiah, chapter 15, and verse 2. And it says, And it shall come to pass, if they say unto thee, Whither shall we go forth? Then thou shalt tell them, thus saith the Lord, such as are for death to death, and such as are for the sword to the sword, and such as are for the famine to the famine, and such as are for the captivity to the captivity. And these are the various judgments that are going to be going out, upon the planet Earth, because again, this elephant, it was only doing, the Lord's will by taking out 22 people, Verse 3, it says, And I will appoint over them 4 kinds, saith the Lord, the sword to slay, and the dog to tear, and the dogs to tear, and the fowls of the heaven, and the beasts of the earth to devour and destroy. And that's the main point, that I want to get. This verse 3, it says, the beasts of the earth, is not, an elephant a beast of the earth, So again, man, 22 people were judged by 1 elephant, taking out 2 people, and they said it's still at large. Knowing them, they're probably going to try to capture it and, kill it. But, at the end of the day, the elephant didn't do anything wrong. It just simply did the Lord's will, just like it says in Sirach 39. It poured out, that fury, upon those people. The Lord wanted them going, so he used an elephant to do it, So again, when Jacob's trouble, fully gets cracking, out here, that's, one of the main ways a lot of people are going to be taken off the earth, sent into the spirit world, by way of getting attacked by, different wild animals, especially when the grid goes down and these zoo animals that aren't native to America get out, they're going to be out here getting busy. So, Lord willing, this lesson was edifying. I want to give all praise, honor, and glory due to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Rakakwadash. I'd like to give double honors unto the apostles and the elders of Great Millstone, who I learned this truth from, and I'd like to say peace and salutations unto the hopefully elect. Till next time I say, Shalom.